I've been trying to get into another MMORPG, either new or one I used to play as a kid. I kept wondering why I can't get into them. Is it because the game is mediocre? Is it because I value my time more? Is it because most MMORPGs scratch the same itch? Or perhaps something entirely else? In this video we're going to cover some problems with the MMORPG genre, so whenever you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. MMORPG, massively multiplayer online role-playing game. That's what MMORPG stands for. In other words, a role-playing game that can be played with thousands of other players online. A genre that started to emerge back in the late 1990s and not long after, the early 2000s, quickly started to rise in popularity. This wasn't without reason, of course. MMOs and MMORPGs provided gamers with a huge array of content, usually in an open world, which they could consume together with all of their friends in real time. It's quite clear why MMORPGs became popular alongside the rise of mainstream internet usage, namely the social aspect. The fact that you could connect with random people around the world was unique. Nowadays though, thanks to constant innovation and improvement, it's a given with how accessible and cheap technology has become. I often ask myself, why do I play any MMORPG, both now and in the past? The answer usually comes down to the social aspect in one way or another, and I'm sure many of you watching can relate. You want to farm, fight, and improve alongside or perhaps against your online acquaintances. You want to show off your epic achievements, whatever those may be. That in itself is something that lies very deep within your biological roots as a human being, as we are after all very social creatures. However, the interesting thing is that MMORPGs are becoming less and less social on the surface, with the social aspect moving towards external platforms like Discord and Reddit. For a second, ask yourself why you used to play RuneScape or Club Penguin or any other MMO back in the mid-2000s. Was it for the game? Or because it was a global chat room? Speaking for myself, I believe the gameplay did matter to an extent, but it was the global chat room vibes that kept me playing. And that was a lot longer than any single player game at the time. It makes sense, of course, because it's an MMORPG. You play an MMO to play with other players online. It's in the name. Now, when returning to some of these games from my childhood over the past few years, I usually couldn't get into playing them for longer than 10 hours. Because as soon as the nostalgia factor wore off, I realized that the majority of these games were far too mediocre at what they were trying to be. Whenever I tried newer MMORPGs, I felt exactly the same way despite having never played them before. Most of these games felt like a rusty Swiss Army knife, meaning they provided content for a variety of playstyles, but they didn't really exceed at anything. Meh is the right word to describe a large portion of MMORPGs on the market right now. And it might just have something to do with that downward trend of the genre since 2009. I'll continue by talking about a few key points I believe have impacted the genre as a whole. These points may not apply to everyone, but they are relevant nonetheless. The average players have changed. History proves that people and their priorities change over time. Since the Second World War, the consumer has changed dramatically. Consumers are pickier than ever, demand higher quality, lower prices, faster delivery, and so on. Consumers also have more choice than ever because of something that is called a buyer's market, where there's less demand than supply, except if you want to buy a GTX 3080, of course. See you in 2022. Now you might be wondering, why is this guy talking about consumers? I'm playing video games. Well, that's because you are a consumer. Whether you're playing a free-to-play, subscribe-to-play, or buy-to-play video game, it doesn't matter. You as a gamer are the consumer. Since the rise of social media and mainstream internet usage, we as gaming consumers have changed as well. Newer generations show this change more prominently, like a shorter attention span as an example, but even if you aren't Gen Z, the internet and social media have probably affected your attention span as well. The reason I brought this up is because the new generation of gamers usually show a liking for games that give satisfaction faster. You know, that dopamine rush. This shorter attention span is also the reason why TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels are so popular. It's a lot of stuff in very little time. Which means these people are less likely to play a game as demanding as an MMORPG simply because it takes a lot of time to get that rush. In addition, the existing MMORPG player has also changed. I see more and more comments about people playing less and less MMORPGs, as they have too little time. And as a full-time engineering student, I feel the exact same way now. I don't see the point of playing games that require too much time any longer, with the exception of RuneScape solely because I don't need to play at all to keep my account good or relevant. Regardless of what you think, I personally believe you can judge an MMORPG within a few hours of gameplay. After a few hours, you will know what the core game feels like. I honestly dislike the fact that some MMO communities disagree with this, as they think you can't judge a game within a few hours, that you would need hundreds of hours into the game to know if it's good or not. Well, I strongly disagree. You can judge if you like a Netflix show or not within the first few episodes. You can judge if you like the way car drives within a short test drive. Sure, you'll have limited experience with the thing, and it won't be an opinion based on deep knowledge, but if you have something you can compare it to and you have experience with a few similar things, in this case MMORPGs, I feel like you can judge an MMORPG within a few hours. Returning to the value of time, if an MMORPG doesn't hook me within the first hour or two, or any game for the matter, it's simply not for me and it's not a game I'm going to enjoy. If the first 100 hours feel like a chore and only then it becomes a good game, which is an argument I see quite a lot, it isn't a good game. It shouldn't be like that. I personally value my time more as I gain responsibilities and grow older, and I have reason to believe this has at least something to do with the downward trend of MMORPGs. The time required to get into them and feel competitive is beyond comprehension when compared to more modern games like shooters or MOBAs, where you can just jump into the competitive scene pretty much instantly. There must be a good chunk of players that quit playing MMORPGs because they demand so much of your time, except possibly the ones that have a ton of dailies so that you can keep up, but I really do think this has something to do with MMORPGs in general and people becoming older, getting families, getting a job, studying hard and so on. Now, why would you play an MMORPG? Because if we speak of jumping into other games, what reason might a modern gamer have to play an MMORPG regardless of how much time they have? In my eyes, there aren't many reasons to get into MMORPGs at this point in time unless you've played one of those games before. Why, you may ask? Well, you can get everything an MMORPG has to offer, but better within less time. You want multiplayer? A huge majority of games nowadays support co-op and online multiplayer. You want PvP? Go play shooters, MOBAs, fighting games, and so on. You want role-playing, story, exploration, PvE? Play games like The Witcher, Divinity Original Sin, Dragon Age, Baldur's Gate, Far Cry, Borderlands, Metro, Subnautica, and so on. Sure, some MMORPGs actually provide a quality experience in some of these areas, and this is the reason why some MMORPGs still have a large player base today. But if you're looking for something specific, separate games focusing on one gaming aspect, let's say the story and exploration, will do a better job than an MMORPG most of the time. Perhaps one of the biggest problems I have with MMORPGs is that they all seem to be the same rusty Swiss Army knife of gameplay styles. There are occasional attempts of relative success to stand out, but because every MMORPG is either trying to be too many things, too little things, or the same thing, let's say WoW clones, they all end up feeling the same. Trying to do many things at once also means higher development costs, which they usually don't have, which leads to newer MMORPGs being rushed and at the very worst dead on release. Apart from visuals, MMORPGs don't really seem to evolve all that much either. There seems to be very little innovation within the genre, again leading back to my point of most MMORPGs feeling very samey. Hopefully, Ashes of Creation, a very promising MMORPG in development, will prove all the previous points wrong in the future by listening to feedback from players and combining the best of the best into one game once released. If you're interested in this game, I highly suggest looking up video summaries of the game and its progression to release. Now, back to my point of MMORPGs feeling very similar, I believe this really kills the fun in exploring a new MMORPG because they are usually a big glorified grind fest until the end game. It's all the same thing. You rush, you kill monsters, you spacebar through quests. You don't have to spacebar, of course. You get to the end game, you start doing PvP and raids, and gear farming, and so on. Now, I'm fully aware that this is not the case for every MMORPG and every type of player. It also depends on you, of course, that player. But a large portion of MMORPGs and the mentality around them has shifted from exploring alongside everyone because everything is new and there's no best builds or best ways to do anything yet, to rushing to the end game by grinding either gear or levels to even be accepted in any high level raiding or clan PvP groups. You know, back in the day, everything was new, no one knew what the best was. That's what made it so fun. Now this has resulted in a min-max mentality that I believe has ruined some games for me personally. Now you might say, no one is forcing you to min-max, and you can play the game however you like. And you'd be right, for some MMORPGs this is definitely the case. Like RuneScape for example, where you can do pretty much whatever you want except for high level group PVM, because to reduce the risk of losing out on rewards, players would rather do group content with others that at least have some good gear. In some other cases, you are being forced to get to a certain level or build because otherwise you'll have a hard time finding a group or even a guild to join that will accept you. This isn't a problem in just MMORPGs, it's a problem within many loot farming multiplayer games out there. And I am Valencia, the treasure hunt. Oh no. Is that MTX I smell? Oh, I can sell you Mighty Z token equipment. I was right. These items gain a great boost in power compared to normal items. Pay to win. And finally, of course, microtransactions. Free-to-play MMORPGs especially have a habit of creating a problem and then selling you, yes you, the solution, which usually consists of convenience, like extra inventory space, or saving you that precious time, again, proving my point kind of, with experience boosters and shortcuts which people who are working full-time jobs will probably happily buy. Since this is the most talked over topic when it comes to gaming, I'll pass on it for now, because you probably already know about all of those awful cash grabs. All in all, I like MMORPGs. I like watching MMORPG content, but my mentality and view of the genre has definitely changed. Many MMORPGs offer a fantastic gaming experience at a great cost of time. If it's worth that large expense of your free time, then go for it. More power to you. But don't forget to ask yourself why you play some of these games. I really wish I could re-experience what it was like to first play MMOs I played as a kid, but it seems really hard. I'm looking forward to MMORPGs that can truly bring something unique to the table, like Ashes of Creation. Until then, I'll lurk and see what comes around. With that being said, if you'd like to see some of my first impressions / reviews of MMORPGs, be sure to check out the playlist linked in the card section of this video. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.